This episode of The Third Sector is being made possible through the support of Morrison Reeves Library, where you can check out an endless variety of movies, binge-worthy TV series, graphic novels, books, games, toys, and CDs. Stream movies and audiobooks with the MRL Digital Library, open 24/7. Visit MRL Downtown Richmond or online at mrlinfo.org. The Richmond Art Museum, open Tuesday through Saturday 10 to 5, offering a wide variety of exhibits and classes that you can view and participate in. Mark your calendar for Pottery Palooza on September 7th from 10 to 4. More information is available at richmondartmuseum.org.
Hello, and welcome to the Third Sector. In our society, there are three sectors: the public, the private, and the nonprofit. It's that third sector, the nonprofit, that we're here to talk about today. My first guests are here representing Special Olympics. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you.
Oh,
Appreciate it.
I've got kind of a scratchy throat today, so I'm going to count on you to do all the talking, all right? All right?
Yes,
Okay.
of course.
Okay. Let's start by explaining what Special Olympics is. When did it get started? What is your mission? And how are you doing in the community today?
Well, Special Olympics started in 1968. Marie Shriver put that on at Soldiers Field in Chicago. And that was the first time that they had an event for children and adults with intellectual disabilities. So that's when it all started. It also started in Wayne County at the same time the first year. We had people part of that program. And So since then, we've come a long way, and here we are today talking about the needs of these kids in this program and our program in the county, in the community.
So that's quite a long time. Quite a lot has been accomplished in that amount of time.
Oh, yes. Lonnie and I have been involved a little over 9 years, close to 10 years, and we love it very much. I never rooted for winners like the Yankees. I always rooted for the Chicago Cubs, and so it fits into my mentality and my thoughts. I'm for the ones who have been abused a lot growing up and in school.
Mm-hmm. Now tell us about your affiliation with Special Olympics. There's no paid staff.
No, we have a 12 board member. It's our management team. And all but 3 of us probably have children involved with disabilities that are on the board. And we meet once a month, and we're always encouraging somebody to join the board from outside. And we do a budget of about $30,000 a year, and so we have a treasurer and a secretary that helps monitor all that. It takes that $30,000 to go, and we have John, who does a lot of our fundraising, is in contact with a lot of the community organizations and businesses and private donors. We receive no funding from state or federal, so we have to earn that money to make this all happen for these kids. Right now we have well over 100 kids in the program in Wayne County, but we've also taken in kids and adults from Fayette County and Union County. They don't have a county coordinator in neither one of those counties at this point, so we do have students that are athletes that come over and participate there. And John, I'll let you talk a little bit about the sports program and how the kids, not only how it makes us feel, but how it makes these kids feel and these adults.
Yes, right now we are in the softball season, and that goes to the middle of September. And we had about 30 athletes. We're supposed to call them athletes. You know, I'm 80, and it's hard not to call them kids. But softball ends at the middle of September, and then in the meantime, we start bowling soon in September, and we'll have 80-some bowlers. That's our biggest event, biggest number. Then we go into basketball, and we have four teams for the men. and we usually have 2 teams for the girls. And when that is over, the middle of March, then we start my favorite, track and field. And we usually have around 42, 43, 45 athletes come out for track and field. And then when that's over, we start softball again, and that's our cycle. We wish that we could do some more sports, but we don't have the finances and we don't have the volunteers, because there's actually over 20 sports that Special Olympics has. I wish we could get downhill skiing, but it's extremely expensive, because I'm a skier too.
It might be a little hard around here too.
Well,
They do down the Perfect North. They have an annual competition down there for them. So
yeah, state championship down there.
Yeah, what fun.
Yeah.
I had an uncle who recently passed away, but he was born with cerebral palsy, and his favorite was bowling. Bobby just lived for bowling and became very good at it, actually. So I have a special place in my heart for Special Olympics, and
All
especially
right.
the bowling program.
All right.
So you talked about you have a very small budget, and all of that money goes for the athletes.
correct.
Tell us how you go about raising that money. It's not easy, is it?
No. When I came on board 10 years ago, they said, "John, you're a preacher. You're not afraid of talking. Why don't you be our fundraiser?" So I didn't know the town. Anyway, a fellow by the name of Dave Hockersmith I became friends with, and he said, "Start a golf tournament. You can make a lot of money." Well, the golf tournament's grown, and this year we just finished up recently, and we made $17,900. That's our biggest event for fundraising. Then we have Kiwanis gives us money, which you are the chairman of, and we appreciate that. And then we also, with what you're affiliated with, the Wayne County Foundation, and that's a huge help. And then we have the Seton Catholic girls softball team, and they have made it their mission to raise funds for Special Olympics. That's what they do year after year after year. And then we get some funds here or there that are donations, but those are major fundraisers. And yeah, we'll raise $30,000.
That's pretty
And the Knights
amazing.
of Columbus have been very generous to us. And to the state organization, the Knights is working a program with the state where they hope to take over the expenses of summer games. I forget what we paid for summer games this year, probably around $4,000 for athletes that attend Terre Haute. And how many athletes we have? 20 plus this year?
Yeah, it's in the middle 20s, went to track and field. It's a 3-day event. It has to be 3 days because a lot of athletes can't do more than one event in a day because physically and mentally they have difficulty with more than one.
Because these are special athletes. They need
Yes.
special
The
conditions.
medications and the heat and their demeanor, I mean, just their body condition sometimes prevents that from.
Right.
Yeah.
So you mentioned it was challenging to raise funds. It's also challenging to get enough volunteers. If a person is out there and saying, "I really have a passion for helping folks like this," what would it be like to volunteer with your program?
With softball, obviously, we're looking for coaches to help with softball. And those teams, basketball, we're always looking for coaches. We're lucky if some of our coaches have been with us for a lot of years and have a lot of experience, but they're always looking for somebody to come in and help out and learn the program. Mostly you just have to have a passion to work with the kids. And I think that's, once you meet these athletes and actually put a face on them and get to know them, it's so different than just reading about what Special Olympics is about. You're going to see how competitive they are, how much they enjoy the sports. They enjoy that fellowship and competition. And I'm blessed like John to see these kids aspire new levels every year, to see them get off the ground and jump, to see them jump or a couple of feet, to throw a ball. I mean, when we started softball, a lot of those kids never held a glove, never seen a ball. It's an experience they have. Probably close to 90% of our athletes are in group homes, so they're in those kind of a sheltered environment where they're not participating with a lot of folks. So this is their only time they can compete with their peers. What a lot of folks don't understand is these athletes, they practice 10 weeks for every event that they compete in. They have to go through training. They have to be at least 10 practices. So they don't just get to go out there and do this. They have to actually practice at it. The thing we really want to promote in the community is they're representing Wayne County. When our athletes leave here and they go to Terre Haute, they're representing the county, not just Special Olympics. And that's where we seem to find the need to get our athletes to put a face on them in their community, not just to hear about Special Olympics, but to actually meet these athletes and get to know them and see who they are and how they compete. And they just have a big heart.
And it's a commitment for them, like you said. It's not just jump on the bus, we're going to go do something.
Yes.
They're training, they're conditioning.
Right. But to be a volunteer, you must become certified. And you become certified by getting on the computer, and you're given the information how to get in, and then you have to read the rules and regulations and a lot of stuff about Special Olympics, and then when you're through reading, you have to take a test. And the test you do right there takes an hour and a half about at the most, and then after that it's sent to Indianapolis and automatically, and then they do the police check over there, and that we get the information back, and you're in. You can, and I find a lot of coaches, because I'm head of the sports program, I find a lot of people who are interested in that. And what they have to do, he's going to show Lonnie's phone number and email, and they can get a hold of that and say, hey, I'd like to be a volunteer. And then Lonnie will take it from there and give that information to Susan, who does that for us. And then she is the volunteer coordinator for us. And that's how you get in.
You have to do a background check, so you do have to give up your Social Security number to have that done, and that protects our athletes. And you can go to the state website, which is soindiana.org, and that gives you all the resource information really to what a volunteer is and all the ins and outs of the programs and all the sports we're involved with, not only locally but the state level. And that's the neat thing about our athletes. They not only compete here locally, but they'll go on to area competition, and then from area they go to state. So they all look forward to, like John said, the Terre Haute 3-day track event is huge. And the spring event. We've gotten other schools. Now Union County has held our area track meet now for 3 years. So we're always looking for schools to be involved, to place the locations to hold the track meets at. That'll bring about 150 athletes from all these counties around us. And it's a very unique experience to see.
That's just amazing. Well, believe it or not, we are out of time, so we have time for one final thought. John, I think you started to say something.
We often are asked, how can I become a Special Olympic athlete? And it's hard for us to get into the schools to be able to talk to them. And if they're interested in that, they have Lonnie's number, and they can call him and say, hey, I'd like to do that. I feel I'm qualified. Well, school teachers and doctors and psychologists and some organizations in town can make the decision, this person qualifies to be a Special Olympian. And then they have to get a medical form and have that filled in by a doctor, and then they have to bring that to practice the first time, whatever sport they're in, and then we take it from there.
So the process doesn't sound like it's that difficult.
No.
A, to be a volunteer, or B, to become an athlete. Gentlemen, thank you for your time.
Rachel,
this is
thank
an
you for the
important
opportunity. It's
project.
been great.
Thank
We
you
really
much,
Important
appreciate it.
program, and I'm
Yes,
just
thank you
so
much.
grateful that you volunteered to do this in our community. So thank you, and thank you for being our guest
Well,
today.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
We'll be right back with more of the Third Sector. Welcome back to the Third Sector. My guest now is Emma Ullery. I knew I would do that, Emma. I knew I would do that. She's here representing Brighter Path. Welcome to the set.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Now, Brighter Path is brand new,
Yes.
so we're going to have to tell people what it is, what you do, and where you're at.
So we actually just turned 2 years old. So we are getting there. There's still a lot of people that don't know about us, so I'm always trying to get the word out. We founded as a nonprofit in 2017, and we've been building since then, and our staff members have doubled since the last time I talked to you, so that's really exciting. We're going places.
That's great. Tell the folks out there what your mission is and what it is that you do at Brighter Path.
Sure. So Brighter Path specializes in equine assisted therapy, and not a lot of people know what I mean when I say that. So an equine is horses. So we work with individuals that have emotional, cognitive, or physical disadvantages, and we work with them with horses. So we do equine assisted therapies and activities. We do riding, ground sessions, things like that. We always have a goal in mind, some place that they want to get to better themselves, and we accomplish that through working with horses.
So let's just talk English. So a child comes in. What would that look like for, I know there's no such thing as a typical child, but give us an example of a child that may be in need of your services, and just an example.
Yeah, so we always have really extensive conversations with parents or counselors, doctors, things like that, to make sure that we have a real vision and goal in mind for that child. Depending on what they need, we might conduct ground sessions where they're just on the ground with the horses, or they might actually ride. All of our kiddos are paired with volunteers, so we have a very large volunteer base. Sometimes we have upwards of 3 volunteers per student. Some classes are groups, so we have 3 to 4 kids at a time. So depending on what they're working on, we try to increase their physical or mental, emotional goals throughout their session, and that could mean playing games. It could be learning horse skills, how to care for the horse, how to ride the horse, things like that.
And some of your goals, would that be perhaps helping an autistic child?
Yes, absolutely. So goals can be anything that a parent or the individual themselves they want to meet, whether it's a physical goal, they want to get better core strength, better balance, whether it's a mental goal, they want to come in and not be scared while they're doing it, they want to come in and make a friend. Just really anything, any goal we can set our eyes on and try to get to it.
Mm-hmm. So working at the foundation, I know that you recently got a grant from us and money
Yes.
from the community and a lot of other partners to purchase a very special piece of equipment. Tell us about that
Yeah,
and what that enabled you to do.
So last year for this spring cycle through the foundation and then again through the challenge match, we were able to raise enough funds for a wheelchair lift. So now we have this piece of equipment. It is the only one in the county, and as far as I know in surrounding counties, which is awesome. We have an adapted lift that can take our students from their chair, from their wheelchair, lift them up and put them on their horses. It is a lift that they can run independently as soon as they learn how to use it, so they don't have to have any human contact, which is so beneficial for them. That's something that they hardly ever get to experience. So they can then put themselves on their horse and have that bit of freedom while they're riding.
Now, just because I really don't understand the logistics of this, how could a person in a wheelchair benefit from riding a horse? How is that going to help them?
I love this question. So it's actually very interesting. The way that a horse moves, when you're sitting on top of it, it actually mimics the way that a human moves. So when you're sitting on it and the horse is just at a casual pace, you can actually feel your muscles and your hips moving as if you were walking. So when you get on a horse, if you have never experienced the motion of walking before, you get on a horse and you experience that feeling for the first time. So your muscles are then able to feel that. It improves your muscle tone, your balance, things like that, as well as giving you that mobility that you can't get anywhere else.
So that might be similar then to a child that has Down syndrome. I know they have some challenges with muscle weakness, muscle tone.
Yes, so that's another thing that we really work on is a lot of muscle tone, just because that is worked on whether they realize it or not. So the really cool thing about equine assisted therapy is even if it is a goal that a parent has in mind, the kiddo is having so much fun that they have no idea that they're working. So they get on their horse, they get to play their games, but in reality, we're working their muscle, we're working their balance, and they have no idea that that's happening. So it works a lot quicker when they're having so much fun.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the other areas you mentioned was cognitive.
Yes.
So talk to us about how this therapy can help cognitive skills.
Yeah, so it's actually very interesting. When you're working with horses in that setting, there's so many sensory things going on. You have the sight, the sound, the smell, everything that goes into it. So we've experienced a lot of our kids, they come in, they get on their horse, and they immediately are completely relaxed, they calm down. It's all in the sensory. As soon as they are able to relax and have a moment of peace, that's when we come in and we try to teach them new things. So it's very beneficial for them to just come in and take a breath and have a relaxing moment, and then they are more inclined to learn the things that we're teaching them. So we can work on very basic goals as far as like learning colors, learning letters, learning numbers, but then at the same time we're also giving their brain a chance to just relax and have a moment of peace.
So again, that might go back to an autistic child, where there's too much sensory overload in some cases.
Yes, exactly. In fact, we've had a lot of kids, they get on their horse and we pair them with volunteers and they quite literally fall asleep. It's just so relaxing, the movement and the feel of the horse. You can feel the horse breathing underneath you. It's just so relaxing. We've had kids fall asleep before, which is quite incredible considering.
So you're located on the western side of the county.
Yeah, so we're actually located in Cambridge. We're just a couple of miles off of the 70 intersection, close to State Road 1.
So why did you start this program? How did it get started?
So I actually have been teaching for a very long time. When I was very young, I started riding horses, and it was always a passion of mine to teach others about horses, how to ride them. And I've also had a particular interest in children. I just love working with them. So it was just a no-brainer for me to put the two together. I had full intentions of making this my own business, my own career, and then I started realizing the people in the community that I need to reach, I can't reach them unless I have the help of the community as well. So it was decided a couple of years ago that we would make it a nonprofit so that we could reach even more. I could start a scholarship program so that we have no barriers when it comes to trying to reach the people that we want to help. So it was just a very easy decision to make that move.
Great. I think this is a little bit of a family affair too, isn't it?
Yeah, so when I was younger, it was actually me and my father that kind of put the program in motion. It was a long time ago, I want to say about 10 years ago. We were just teaching kids around the community, friends of friends, people in church, things like that. And then it just kept growing and growing, and we were realizing, oh my gosh, this is like actually needed. At the time, we were just doing it just in our spare time, just for fun. And then the need was so big and so great, we were like, oh my goodness, like this needs to become a full-fledged program. So I went on to pursue a few certifications that would allow me to teach children's therapeutically. So yeah, when we founded it, my father was the co-founder and he's now the board president. So we stay very close.
That's really a neat story about how you got started and the fact that you've stayed together and are working this program together. Let's talk about funding a little bit. This isn't cheap to do.
No.
So how do you fund your program?
A lot of our funding comes through grants and individual donations. Wayne County has been more than generous with grants. They have enabled us to purchase more horses for the program because we're growing. We've gotten scholarship programs to aid those that aren't able to financially support themselves in the program. Like you mentioned, we've gotten our wheelchair lift. So the grants in the community have just overwhelmed us with blessings, and individual donors have helped tremendously in making the program happen. So a lot of it is the help of others. We really couldn't do it without them.
And if there are folks out there saying, this is my passion, I really want to financially support this program, how can they get in touch with you and help?
Yeah, they can visit our website. I have a phone number and email available as well. A lot of people like to donate their time as well. So we have a very wide volunteer base, and we have a lot of different options. Some people have a huge passion for horses, but kids may not be their thing. We have a spot for you. Some people, their passion is kids, and they may not know anything about horses, and that's fine. We have a spot for them too. So we have a lot of ways that people can give to us, as far as financially or just your time.
It takes a lot of time and effort
Yes.
to put on a program like this.
Yes, it does. We have, on average, about 15 to 20 volunteers a week, and they usually put in 2 to 3 hours at a time. So it's a lot of volunteer hours.
Do they have to be certified to work with the children?
They actually don't. We put them through a training ourselves. They just send in an application. We do a very brief background check. They go through extensive training with me and our other instructor, and then they're good to go.
It's just an amazing program, and
Thank
I
you.
really thank you for what you do in the community, what you do for the children.
Oh,
and,
absolutely.
And really excited about the program and all that you do, and so I want to thank you.
Yes.
And thank you for being our guest here today.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And thank you for joining us on the Third Sector.
This episode of The Third Sector has been made possible through the support of Morrison Reeves Library, where you can check out an endless variety of movies, binge-worthy TV series, graphic novels, books, games, toys, and CDs. Stream movies and audiobooks with the MRL Digital Library, open 24/7. Visit MRL Downtown Richmond or online at mrlinfo.org. And by the Richmond Art Museum, open Tuesday through Saturday 10 to 5, offering a wide variety of exhibits and classes that you can view and participate in. Mark your calendar for Pottery Palooza on September 7th from 10 to 4. More information is available at richmondartmuseum.org.